Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Matthew Waldron as our
True
guest
fact.
tonight.
Wow.
I'm gonna have a lot of questions for him, but I'm not gonna let him talk because I'll do most of the talking.
So it's just going to be a typical evening with us and Ty. So happy to be here. Thank you. I've got a project to plug. I got a lot of things I want to get to. So my
Okay.
first question is, what is your first question?
Have you noticed that people a lot of times start maybe a yoga class or church or meditation with like these tumultuous times or these hard times or these um, difficult times? Have you noticed that at all?
No, because let's be honest. Every time is a hard time. Every time is a difficult time. Every time is, the world's ending or, it drives me nuts when people are like, these crazy times. When haven't there been crazy times? But if that's what the spark that people need to try something new, go for it. But I do feel people are more open to trying new things than ever before.
Do you think that is started like recently, or do you think people have, if we went back 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 2000 years ago, do you think people were always like during these difficult times? Or I don't remember hearing it growing up, but that gets into a second thing. But do you think people have always said that?
I don't know. I feel like I've never not heard it, but maybe not. Maybe I didn't hear it in the '70s. I don't know. I don't remember it then, but definitely in the last 20 years, I definitely have heard it way too much. And I
So
don't think there are any harder times today than there were a
when
thousand
you
years ago.
were when your kids were younger, were you when I used to go to school uphill in the snow barefoot, were you that kind of person or no?
No, no.
Okay.
Just because I had no chance, right? They see right through me, and
Okay.
and they were all good students, so I had nothing to say. Well, you are. I mean, you're like that about everything.
Well, but I do wonder. I'm like, is there an? I think there's a little bit of an issue. Is that kind of from 1980 to 2001, things were pretty good. Like
Yeah,
we were never worried that we were going to get drafted. We were
right.
never worried. I know there were recessions, but there was never a Great Depression. And it's not like everything was great all the time, but it was a pretty good time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I dominated. '80s, I really did well. Yes. So
Okay.
'80s, early '90s, good times.
So like the other day, somebody was talking about like one of my kids about like, oh, it's such a tough age, and I was like, my dad was in Vietnam when he was that age. Like
Yeah,
what are we talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
here?
It's all relative. It is all relative. But yes, I don't think these times are any more difficult than any other times in our history.
Do people who are on their phone all the time perceive that they're more difficult?
Yes, because they're told that it's more difficult.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean everything is world is ending, doom, doom, doom. So yeah, I do think there's a lot of that. But I guess it really comes back to if people buy into that and then they follow that narrative.
so I just read a great book because I was interested in this topic because I'm kind of like it. I was a history major, and I still like to read history books. And so when I hear people say this, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Have you opened a history book to see how great we have it? So I looked for a book to be like, all right, let me just read about this. And there's a book called Factfulness by Hans Rosling. So Hans Rosling is Scandinavian and he's a public health specialist.
Okay.
And it's written in 2016. So if for somebody who doesn't think they can handle some of the recent controversies, it's based on 2016.
Okay.
He's basically using facts to be like, in every category of human history that you can basically think of, poverty, how hunger. He uses childhood vaccinations, education, especially women's education. He's like across the world, it is getting so much better everywhere. So if you're thinking about like level one poverty, that is basically like you got to walk a couple miles to the water well. You have to cook on an open flame. Your kids can't go to school, they're not vaccinated, they're
Right.
dying of childhood illnesses. The amount of people in the world who used to live that way 50 years ago versus now, it's like everybody's getting better. People are going through the levels, and he breaks it up into level one, level two, level three, level four. And he does it in a way, though, he's not denying that there's not real
Sure.
issues. Like he is somebody who is worried about World War III, and he's worried about climate, and he was actually an advisor to Al Gore, and his big disagreement with Al Gore was that Al Gore thought it was important to give the worst case scenario.
Okay.
He was like,
Yep.
that's the only way we're going to make change is and raise money and make policies to give the worst case scenario. And he was coming from a medical background, and he was like, no, you have to give the most likely scenario because
Agreed.
that's how you're gonna move forward. It's a great book. So if you are like Ty and Matt don't know what they're talking about and you're a doom and gloom person, you should read that book because it'll put it a little bit in perspective.
Interesting. Someone actually wrote a book all about that and backed it up. That's nice to know.
And I was thinking about it because, as you know, I just got back from Mexico.
I've heard. Yes.
I was at my niece's wedding, and the week before, stuff happened in Mexico, a lot of violence with the cartels.
Right.
Right? So the wedding was in Cancun. The violence was not anywhere near Cancun.
Right.
But still, you watch it and you start kind of getting nervous
Yeah.
and reading like every news source you can, trying to find podcasts, trying to be like, is it safe to go to Mexico? Right?
So we should have done this last week?
Well, my point was that this week was totally different. It's in a totally different part of Mexico. Like, you would not go to Ocean City because there was some problem in Los Angeles.
Right.
Right? So once you put it in perspective, like, it really felt safe. We were in an all-inclusive resort in Cancun.
Okay.
Like, it felt less like a foreign country than my own backyard did, you know?
Your
get
backyard's
better
your woods. Yeah, you get better medical care.
You
get better
can,
shade.
you can get better
in your
Mexican
backyard,
food.
yeah.
You can get better Mexican food on Forest Drive. So we're in Mexico.
Yep.
It was my niece Maury's wedding. She
Yes.
had an absolute blast.
Oh, good.
The whole family had a great time. The House family definitely understands the mission when it comes to weddings. It's be on the dance floor as much as possible.
Right. That's the reason you guys are brought there. Yeah, you guys bring the hype, bring the jam.
Even my 86-year-old mom was navigating the whole resort and was on the dance floor.
I love it. Love it.
There was
Expect
this
nothing
guy
less
named
from Nana.
There was this guy named Bernie who was trying to dance with her, and he tried to do the spin around, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm like,
Bernie?
You need to, Bernie, you got to get card, you got to card people before you
Yeah.
dance with them."
Come on,
You know.
Bernie.
But other than that, she had a great time. It was
Good.
super fun seeing everybody. Doug, my brother-in-law, did
Yeah.
the first song, which we've seen him do 30 years ago at a bunch
Yeah.
of different weddings. So that was really cool.
Oh, very cool.
So the point was, I was glad I didn't get called in my phone researching Mexico for a week, and
Yep.
that we kept going with it.
It's a big celebration for a lot of reasons, but I'm glad it looks like you applied the SPF 80 very
Yes.
well and evenly. So I'm proud of you.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that was my big concern.
I even swam with a swim shirt, and I made Mary Kate like play catch with me in the pool, and sent a video to Roddy, and he's like, "Oh my God, why is he wearing a swim shirt?" And I'm like, "Because it's March. I am
It's
sensitive
not,
to the
it's
sun."
not worth it.
Yeah. We also went and saw the Mayan ruins. So see how I'm going to tie this
I
back
do.
into the advancement
I
of
love it.
society.
I love
It
it.
is the Mayans are a really cool culture. We saw their pyramid, and you're like, "Oh, Ty, what do you do at the pyramid?" Well, they would fish, and they would take all the fish to the pyramid and the market to the pyramid, and then they'd have ceremonies and rituals and some human sacrifices, different things in the pyramid. So I think things are getting better in a lot of ways.
I think so. But you never know. A good sacrifice might change some the course of history. So, but for them, yeah, we've made some progress. That's nice to see.
Yeah. Today was a little hard at work though because I didn't get my 2 o'clock nap by the pool.
Oh no, no. You kind of. It's funny how this become a habit real quick.
So,
That's nice.
did you do anything for Lent?
I've done a couple of things. I definitely gave up Twizzlers, 100%.
Ooh, how's that going?
Been a couple white knuckles.
Uh-huh.
Like, should I, shouldn't I? Got a nice practice sitting there. But it's funny. I also tried to give up ice cream. I've done pretty well with that one, except I was just visiting my parents, and my mom likes ice cream, so I had to have some ice cream.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, it's that's been pretty good. How about you?
Well,
You're trying to stay off your phone more, right?
yeah, this is my first non like nutrition diet related one in
Yep.
years, you know.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is you can't get through life without a phone. Like
Sure.
I have security codes to get into my medical records. I have to text, I have to call. So there's no social media unless my kids send me a reel because those are usually funny. So I can look at those and my wife. If anybody, so if somebody sends me something, I can look at it,
Sure.
but I can't scroll it. I can't look at the news on my phone, including sports news.
Whoa.
Um, but I am allowing myself like the occasional YouTube video because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm curious about like the Mayans. When we went to the Mayan ruins, I wanted to look at a YouTube video so I knew something about it.
Wait, do you think the Mayans recorded that video?
Yes, it was live.
Oh my God. These guys are
Yeah.
amazing. They were so ahead of their time.
Yeah. So,
Um,
and I'm halfway in and I'm loving it
yeah.
because it's not like you don't know what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know what's going on in the world. I just don't need to know every single person's opinion
Yeah.
about what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Form your own. That is kind of nice. It's liberating to form your own opinion
Yeah.
on, based on your experiences. That is nice.
So it's kind of
Um,
back like when we were kids. I mean, I won't do it forever, but I'm
no.
pretty mindful about like, oh, is it so much that world event or is it so much about listening to all these opinions who really filtering through who actually knows what they're talking about, who doesn't know what they're talking about, and why does this person have an opinion?
Yeah. That's funny. That's interesting because kind of going back to what we were talking about, like these times versus, the other times. I was at a dinner Saturday night, and a gentleman at the dinner was going off about the greatest movie he's ever seen. And the greatest movie he's ever seen.
So Rocky or was it Shawshank Redemption?
His is Forrest Gump,
Oh, okay.
and it
I
was.
like Forrest
I don't
Gump.
know, but it was funny. I like as did I, and he's watched it repeatedly. But the reason we got there, some of it had just seen. There's a new unreleased Elvis concert movie that's
Huh.
out.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, he was so good in Elvis, and Elvis was so good in Forrest Gump." And I kind of gave the guy a look like, "What?" And he was like, "Remember when he was like upstairs at the boarding house, and Forrest basically taught him how to dance?" And he's like, "Hey, I like that move." I mean, what a great movie! And he's like, that guy saw everything. It was so creative, and he went from Vietnam and all the way up to Jenny with AIDS, and he was like, wow, that guy's really seen a lot of stuff. And I was like, it's a movie, right? He's like, oh yeah, I get it. But if you think about everything that guy saw, and he had his finger in everything, I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. But yeah, he saw a lot of different stuff. But we all have seen a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
Not just Forrest Gump. But it was but he was dead serious and set in his ways, and it's not in my head and agreed.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like that.
I kind of liked it though.
I think one of the things that makes people mad about their phones is that they want to hear your opinion or their opinion come out of your mouth. So it's like we're all like we've lost the understanding that reasonable people can disagree.
Right.
And so it's not so much when the event happens, it's that we want to convince everybody that our opinion of the event is right.
Correct. And it's not only that we're right, but they are wrong, and here's
Yes.
why they're wrong.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which is perfect segue to your question about like, well, how would a surgeon think about that?
God damn, you're getting so good at this.
I know, I know.
You're getting so good.
So I was thinking about it, like, so if there's a problem, right? It's kind of like making a diagnosis. You have to first see what there's a problem, right?
Okay.
So first of all, I have to convince you that it is a problem, right?
Right.
Then, so I have to make a diagnosis and I have to convince you that I made the right diagnosis.
Okay.
Then I have to come up with a treatment, right?
Yep.
And I have to convince you that my treatment is the right treatment,
That's
right?
yep.
So after I've done all that, which is already a pretty big mountain to climb, right?
A pyramid. Yeah. Sure.
Then we have to triage it. So you could totally agree with my diagnosis. You could totally agree with my treatment. And maybe it's my number one issue. And it's not even a top 100 issue for you.
Got it.
So a lot of times we might all agree on stuff. I'm just like, yeah, it's just, I don't think it's a big idea because of all these other things in my world
Right.
that are going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. People are like, I was away this weekend. People are like, so you excited for the Orioles this year? I'm like, not a real big fan. They're like, really? How can you not be? I'm like, I'm a fan of golf. I'm a fan of football. I'm a fan of basketball. I just don't have enough time in my day to follow baseball, and I decided to cut baseball out. I'm not a bad person. I just how I feel. And they're like, "Phew, okay, all right, but yeah, but that's the same thing that you're going through as, and you are a surgeon, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to
Because
remind
it's,
you of that.
I do. But, it's funny. I was talking to somebody who said their father is going through treatment, and he was in Virginia somewhere, and he didn't really like the doctor because the doctor's like, okay, well, here's the course of action. We can either do this or we can do it this way. Which one do you like? And the patient was like, isn't that kind of your call? Like, that's kind of what you should be telling me, like which one we should do. So he changed doctors, and the guy's like, okay, here's why we're going this way. Because here's the success rate, here's the mortality, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, thank you. All right, I'm on board. That's what I need. And so I'm asking you as a doctor, which way do you go? Do you say, give the patient the options, or do you say, hey, this is the way you should do it?
So I lay it out, and sometimes when it obviously needs to be fixed, like say you break your wrist and your wrist needs to be fixed, I will point out that in the 1980s we would have put in a cast.
Okay.
Obviously, I wasn't old enough to be a doctor in the 1980s, but I would have said so people survived without surgery, because sometimes people are 85 years old, they have other health problems, it's their non-dominant hand, and they're like, yeah, I'm not getting it fixed. So
Right.
you want to let them like see the whole menu and be like, this is what I would choose. Um, but also sometimes you're like, this is on the menu, but not for you yet because you're not bad off enough to need that end of the road thing. So there are times where it's more of a gray area.
Right.
What I think more comes up with in medicine is that there's the textbook answer, uh, but sometimes the textbook answer requires 3 months of rehab, and you don't have 3 months. Then you just started a business, and you can't do that, and you're like, oh, it's my non-dominant arm. I'm going to go without surgery, even though maybe my recommendation is surgery. I'd be like, okay, well, that's reasonable. And a
Yeah.
lot of the things are based on your lifestyle, maybe your other problems, like orthopedics. Sometimes it's like your car tires wear down. You're not really worried about your tires if your engine's not working. So you might have other things that take are more important to you. But I think there was a time where people just said it's called paternalistic medicine, where like you have to have this done,
Yeah.
and now they give you the choices, but they still say you really have to have it done. And obviously, if it's like you are going to, this is going to happen, you're going to die if you don't get your heart bypass done. It's very different than your rotator cuff's torn.
Yeah.
You're going to have shoulder pain until we fix it. It could tear a little bit worse, but we don't have to do it tomorrow. We don't have necessarily even have to do it in 6 months. It might be a little bit bigger in a year. It might be a little bit harder to fix, but there does come a point where years and years it
You
becomes
got to do it.
not fixable, and it's like, okay, if that's your choice, you just got to be ready for the consequences.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think you nailed it, right? You got to look at each case individually. What else is going on? You got to look at the totality of the situation.
Simple, because sometimes it's like, hey, to fix this requires no rehab. It's a 2 week recovery,
Yeah.
and why are you putting up with this agonizing thing that's going to get better really fast?
Yeah.
Versus other things, they need to be scheduled in your life
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Okay.
of time off work and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good stuff. I'm glad we hit record, on that, so we can document this forever.
So now we know you're not an Orioles fan,
Right.
right? And
Yeah. I'm not an Orioles fan. I just don't follow it like live and breathe every game.
so
Yeah.
my other thing, so I mentioned the Factfulness book. I saw this video by Jonathan Haidt, Haidt,
Hmm.
who is a psychologist, and I think he has basically four moral pillars. And what
Okay.
he's looking at is people who tend to be on the right versus people who tend to be on the left.
Okay.
Okay. And the reason I think this is good is because it helps you understand other people. Is the pillars are fairness, and people on the left and the right, both fairness is very important to both groups, pretty much equal.
Okay.
Okay. Empathy, people on the right and the left are almost identical on empathy. Like they're very close on empathy. So they're those two things we all have in common. The
Okay.
three pillars that we have a less in common are loyalty, which he does loyalty slash tribalism. So
Okay.
people who are on the right do tend to be more loyal to their in-group, whether it is their family or their small community, they are less loyal to bigger communities.
Got it. Yep, I agree so far.
The next one was purity. And he uses an example. If you go to Europe and you see the statue of David, which person is going to be looking at it and be like, "Oh my God, what a beautiful statue," and what person's going to be like, "You could cover up, you could be wearing boxers," and and obviously, I think we're more. That's probably less of an issue now, but still, you kind of
Yeah,
know
I get it.
which
Yep.
person's to be like, "Really, you're going out in that," you know, and then so it was tribalism, it was purity, oh, and it was authority. So the people on the right tend to have uh, more respect for authority or less rebellion against authority. So that authority could be the principal of your school, could be your teacher, could be your parent, could be a
Yep.
police officer, whatever it is. But the thought is that those things are genetically ingrained in you.
Huh.
So there's a little bit like uh, it's a little bit of nurture versus nature. Sometimes our political perspectives are shaped by our experiences. Sometimes it might be genetic, but those things are relatively encoded. So you sending me a Instagram post about the latest news is probably not going to change my mind on
Right.
which way I'm going to vote. And that's where I'm like, I think everybody needs to maybe just chill out a little bit and understand where other people are coming from. And so that's like an area right now that I'm interested in. I don't know who we would talk to dive in deeper. Like, um, I kind of see two groups. I see the occasional teenager or 20 something who I guess I worry that they're too focused on that stuff that they can't control, and less on stuff that brings them peace in their life. And then I worry about older people who I think sometimes are too just their almost their entertainment has become political news.
But
And
don't you? I can't just put that to any age group. I personally feel anybody that's too extreme on anything, one
Mhm.
way or the other, it's too much, right? Everything in moderation, even moderation. I think people that are very spiritual. If everything has to be a teaching and spiritual moment, like
Yeah.
simmer down. Sometimes it's just a moment, right? So I don't think it's just groups. I think it's people as a whole.
So, because you love sports analogies,
I do.
I was having a conversation. I was like, it's a little bit like if you're trying to make your point, you got to be subtle. You got to wait for your opening. So, like Muhammad Ali could not beat
Yeah.
up George Foreman. He had to do the rope a dope. He had to
Right.
sit there and let George Foreman do his thing, wait for his moment, and then throw his jab and his
Yeah.
hook. So that's where you're like, so I'm a big person who believes in kind of check your resume. Like
Yeah.
before you start preaching, you need to have a little bit of resume there. Um, so because people are going to be like, well, wait a minute, look, check your own house,
Right.
uh, before you throw stones, or
Right.
people in glass houses don't throw stones.
Right. Um, that should be your new name, Glass House. Uh, Dr. Glass House. Um, but yeah, I think now more than ever, I think people's opinions are. Yeah, I agree with you what you're saying that it's genetics. It's probably encoded, but it's also their personal experience more than
Yes.
ever.
Yeah, I don't think it's just genetics.
No, no, but I agree.
Partly
That's
genetic,
probably the
partly
beginning,
your
the
personal
foundation,
experience.
and
Yeah.
then from there it's a personal experience. And I think people need to recognize that as you hear these so-called experts or whatever talk about whatever they're talking about. Their experience is different than my experience, and that's okay.
Now, the reason I mentioned those two groups is because I kind of feel like when you're in the thick of it, like you're in your career, you have kids, you don't have as much time. Like most people are going to be spending more of their time on their career and their family and less of their time on like political stuff. And so I
Okay.
worry about young people derailing maybe what they want to do in life because they're overly involved in politics. And then I worry about older people. You retire, you have a little bit more free time, and then filling that time with basically your political beliefs and being upset when people don't agree with you. And basically it's really like, really, are they really your beliefs, or are they what your phone is telling you or what the person on TV is telling you?
But I also think it gets back to what can you do to change it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so focus on stuff that you can change, that you can contribute to somehow, some way, as opposed to just opinionate and opine on different topics and subjects.
Were you ever at any point in your life a political junkie?
No,
No.
no, not to the point where it was every waking hour. There's some stories that I get involved in and follow a little bit closer than others, but not a junkie, I don't think.
Okay. I would say at one point
I remember when you were.
yeah, I would probably get up and try to read everything on both sides about an
Yep.
issue and probably try to know everything about it. And in reality, it's like that book that we've talked about before, Extreme Ownership.
Right.
It wasn't issues that I had extreme ownership. Like I wasn't running for governor.
Right.
I wasn't donating to campaigns. All I was doing was showing up once a year or once every 2 years and voting. Like
Yeah.
that's all I was doing. So it was like, and I think Socrates or Plato, we'll get somebody to write in and tell
Yeah.
us which one.
Yeah. Yeah. I have Socrates' email address. I'll get it.
Well, one of them said you have to be, if you're not politically involved, you will be ruled by your inferiors,
Right.
right? So you do need to know what's going on
Right.
somewhat.
Right.
But Aaron Brooks, who is a happiness professor at Harvard, I think his name is Aaron Brooks, he said,
Are you getting
uh,
paid to drop names tonight? I
yes,
mean,
yeah. He wrote a book about happiness, which is great. But one of his quotes is, "People who are overly political don't make friends, and I need friends."
yeah.
That's what he said. So
When you were at your peak, it was
uh,
annoying because that's all you wanted to talk about because that you were just bursting with knowledge about this topic, and everyone else is like, "No, dude, I want to, I want to talk about, I want to talk about anything else but this." And until you finally went cold turkey, that those were some dark days for all of us.
but I think that's why well, I don't think. I mean, I was still, that was kind of like, it's a little bit like I gave up watching Seinfeld reruns, and because I was like, well, I shouldn't be wasting my time watching Seinfeld reruns, or I don't need to watch every Orioles game or whatever. And now I'm like, there is a benefit to some mindless entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything in moderation, even moderation.
Yeah. I listened to on the plane a podcast about the genetics of evil
Okay.
on Modern Wisdom, which is a podcast I listen to every once in a while. And then I started scrolling through the table of contents, 3 or 4 podcasts a week on subjects just as serious as that. And in my mind, I'm like, how can this host have any original thoughts of his own
Right, if
when
you're doing
he
that
is
much.
constantly diving into such deep topics 4 times a week?
Yeah, I mean, look at us. I mean, we only go once a week, and we get into why the statue of David wasn't wearing boxers. The statue of David, boxers or briefs. And I mean, we don't have enough time in the day to cover all this.
You do know he was on the Mediterranean diet, right?
I did not know that.
Oh,
Ew.
yeah. So
Ah,
his cholesterol was perfect. Henry, we need to talk about, because are you already ready to sign off?
yeah, I thought that was a nice little half-hour little
Well,
clip.
I guess it was a half hour, but I didn't know if we got that first part. But we need to talk about the Miracle documentary.
I'll tell you what, I've seen it. I told you to watch it
You told me to
actually.
watch it, so
Yeah.
that's why we got to talk
Yeah, no,
about
no, and I would love to talk about it. I feel like I've watched it before the Olympics, so it's not as fresh.
it. Uh-huh.
But I thought that was one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen. I
What,
was going to
what?
say I wanted to watch it again before we talked about it, but let's go. We can
Okay.
talk through.
So there was a couple parts. The one thing I loved was the backup goalie.
Yep.
Uh, and that's one thing that at every level it's hard to be a goalie because the backup goalie's not getting in. So I think
No.
he said he was the only guy who didn't play in the Olympics,
Yes.
right? Except for the fact that he was literally the MVP of the national championship game. He was Herb Brooks's goalie at the University of Minnesota. He was arguably the best goalie in the country at the collegiate level. His just ceiling wasn't quite as high as Jim Craig's, and that's why the famous thing of in the movie was Jim Craig, the assistant coach, is like, yeah, he's kind of been off recently, and Herb Brooks was like, yeah, but have you ever seen him when he's on? And that it was that concept that if you were going to beat the Russians, you couldn't go with the other guy. You had to go with Jim Craig when he was at his best.
Right. You always have to go with a hot hand.
But what was cool was that he met his wife at the Olympic trials. So the backup
Right.
goalie met his wife at the Olympic trials and was like, this, it was the greatest thing
That
ever
was his
for him.
win. Yeah,
Now, the same
absolutely.
thing
No, I
was
thought I
true
didn't
with
know that before. I thought that was really cool.
how big and muscular he was with a Fu Manchu and long hair. He
Yeah,
looked
it's
like a
like,
badass.
yeah,
And
now
seeing
you
him
say,
as a 60-year-old college professor looking guy.
hey, look like some dork accountant.
Yeah, it was
No,
so funny.
no offense, KK. Um, no, I thought that was amazing. I love seeing the guys give each other shit. They're still kind of like
Yep.
teammates do. But I thought that was a great story and a great lesson. Like every cloud's got a silver lining. Sure, he wanted to be in the Olympics. Sure, he wanted to play, but he met his wife. Awesome stuff. And I remember my dad woke me up that night to
Mhm.
watch that game. And I remember it clearly. It was just a cool dad waking me up and bringing me downstairs to watch that game.
Did you have any like memories of the Cold War before that game? Like, did you have any idea what was going on in the country?
I did. So I had my dad's dad was that political, knowledgeable person that we were just talking about. And so, yeah, I heard all about it. I heard all about the Ruskies. I heard, yes. So, yeah, I heard a lot about it.
So I think culturally we were kind of growing up in a time, and back then to watch the news, if you wanted to see the sports highlights. So back when you did love the Orioles, if you wanted to watch the
Yeah,
Orioles highlights or the any sports team's highlights, you're going to sit down and you don't want to miss it. So you're going to see some regular news,
yep,
and the regular news was like, the Russians going into Afghanistan. Our gas prices were
right.
up. There was inflation. Like the 70s, like although our worlds were totally fine, you were being kind of inundated with bad news.
I remember being in like lines to get gas, my mom driving, and it was based off your license plate. Like if your number was odd or even what day you could go to get gas.
Yeah.
I definitely remember that. Um,
And so, in a way, in a I guess a fifth grader's mind, it's like we beat the Russians in hockey, and the world changed. It was like morning in America because
yeah.
we beat the Russians in hockey. Um,
I mean, yeah, and kind of back to your talking about the phone, everyone found out at the exact same time, right?
yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
watched it live, kind of like they did 3 weeks ago on that Sunday morning when you and our friends we were all texting about 8 o'clock in the morning how great it
yeah.
was to watch some big time sports.
And the thing that was also is the Russians were a professional hockey team because
Right.
they were men. Our guys were college kids. So like our NHL players weren't playing. It was our amateur kids right out of college. And that team was basically designed just to try to compete with the Russians because the Russians there were no professional leagues in Russia. So those guys were their professionals. And we also grew up in an era where like people would escape Russia or would escape Cuba. Like when the baseball players got on
Oh
rafts, the
yeah.
Hernandez brothers got on rafts and both won World Series games when we were probably middle school, early high school after escaping Cuba. Uh, Different gymnasts would escape. Like it was a ballet people would escape.
Oh
Like it
yeah.
was a thing escaping Russia. So like you kind of felt like they were playing hockey against the evil empire kind of
Oh,
thing.
100%. They absolutely were, and that's the way definitely it was framed. Uh, society had the Russians then and now as the evil empire. So, but it's interesting. Right after that, so that's 80.
Yeah.
So 8 years later, is that when we had our first dream team? Is that when we finally said, we're going to start letting our professionals play in the Olympics for basketball?
No, because
Or is it 92?
84 we won the gold, I believe, with Jordan
I didn't
coming
know.
out of college. So we won the gold with Jordan, and then I think 88 we lost. So I think we went with the Dream Team in 92
92, yeah.
because Larry Bird was kind of at the end of his go because his back was acting up and
Right.
stuff, but he was on the team,
Yeah.
which is a whole nother thing, which gets us into what do you like better, the Winter Olympics or the Summer Olympics?
I don't know. It's so funny. My wife and I were talking about how much we were into the Winter Olympics, and we knew everything about bobsled or curling or whatever it was. And right now, I couldn't tell you one name of one person that we were just rooting for. I think I'm a big fan of the Winter Olympics.
I like the winter, but I also this is my one question I always have is like if you're doing the 100-yard dash in the Summer Olympics, you, everybody runs the 100-yard dash. Like you are fast.
Yes.
How many people actually do the bobsled team? So if you make the U.S. bobsled team, So if you make the U.S. soccer team, you beat out several million people. If you make the U.S. bobsled team, how many other people are trying? Like 5, 10,
And how many of them are
300? Well,
like former running backs, that are
well, that's
doing
what,
these?
like, are they
Yeah,
taking the running back or maybe and being like, hey, you're not quite good enough to make the track team, so we're going to start training you on bobsled. It just some of those sports, I do wonder, although they're great, how many people are they beating out? And they're
yeah,
super fun to watch because they're not sports that we do really.
right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
totally,
I can
totally.
skate, but I can't figure skate and do the hamel camel.
Right. You can't. Come on. But why do you wear the costumes? That's
Yeah.
what I've never understood.
The other thing I loved was the Michael Ruzioni. I just thought this was so interesting. The Michael Ruzioni post game interview in 1980. So he's 23, 24
Right.
years old, and he's talking about how amazing it was for these guys from different parts of the country and different ethnic groups to
Yeah.
come together and play as a team. And I think now one of our kids would look at it and be like, what is he talking about? Like, first of all, different parts of the country, because we fly, they probably
Right.
would playing for club tournaments against each other and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
they all know each
But
other. Yep.
the different ethnic groups, I think our kids would look at it and be like, what is he talking about? It's a bunch of white guys.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize like it was a big deal back then. Like the Italians lived in the Italian neighborhood. The
Right.
Irish lived in the Irish neighborhood. The Scandinavians lived in the Scandinavian neighborhood. And they were on different teams and they had their different payback, like from old games, where they're
Yeah.
like, oh, he took a cheap shot at me and now we're teammates. They had to get over all that stuff. And I just thought it was fascinating when he said that.
Oh my God, yeah. I think Herb Brooks, possibly one of the greatest coaches of all time, because of that, bringing all those people together in a short amount of time and having them playing as the ultimate team. Come on, it doesn't get much better than that. I
Yeah.
thought the way they presented it, all those guys talking today, they're still a team. It was just cool to watch
Yeah.
and see them talking to each other. You know what else I liked? I liked, and maybe I didn't know this or forgot that the outdoor that they skated outside the city hall in Lake Placid. It wasn't. I mean, not the ice hockey game, but speed
Eric
skating.
Hyden.
Yeah, but it was outside,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
in front, right in front of
Oh,
City Hall.
that's right. I forgot it was outside. And I guess
And
in
I
my
forgot that also.
mind,
So they showed that on there. I was like, oh my God, isn't that crazy?
yeah, in my mind, I'm like, when did they switch it to inside?
I have no idea, but I was just like, that's bonkers that they did it outside.
You know what happened to Eric Hyden?
He started a podcast and became a doctor.
So I don't think he probably does have a podcast, but he became an orthopedic surgeon.
I know.
I believe he was in the Summer Olympics for cycling, but he won 5 golds at that 1980 Olympics. So it was a totally fun time, and in a fifth grade mind, it's like that hockey team changed the whole course of the Cold War, and before you know it, the Berlin Wall is falling because we won a couple hockey games. You know,
It all comes back to sports. That's the reason the '80s are your favorite era.
and you gotta love hockey players. Like the kid, he gets his teeth knocked out in
Oh,
this recent Olympics, and he still wins the overtime goal.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if I'm that guy, I'm never getting those put back in. People are
Oh,
like, "What happened to your teeth?" Oh, have you? I guess you didn't know about the
have you ever had a
23.
busted tooth? Your tongue rubs up on it. It's so annoying.
All right. Yeah.
So, but if his dentist will probably start a podcast now.
Oh my.
What is your plan now that we've talked enough for growth of this podcast? Are you just going to tell people like and share? What are you going to do?
I've got some ideas. I've got some people that are working on it behind the scenes
Uh-huh.
because we really do need. I mean, we're sitting on gold here that we really got to get to the people.
Yeah. And honestly, we get a lot of text messages from people saying how much
Yes.
they enjoy it. We need them to send it to some of their friends.
Yep. And send us who they want us to talk to.
Yeah.
They don't have to be people we know.
No.
It's actually more fun when we don't know them.
Yeah, we've been doing that. We've been
Yeah.
doing good with that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like, subscribe, share, and share your thoughts and share your guests with us. It would be great.
Okay. So
All
I
right.
could talk forever, but you have a lot of organizational stuff to get to.
Thank you.
So
I
I'm gonna
do.
let you go.
All right. And then, yeah. All right. Good. This was great. Great. Good being with you
Oh,
guys.
one last thing. Remember, I'm not sure if you got it. We got an email or text from a long time listener. He was once a guest. He says you put the song at the beginning of it, and then at the end it just abruptly stops. He wants a song at the end of it also.
Wow. He goes all the way
I
through.
don't know if he means the first song or done twice, or if he wants a new song.
All right. You know what? I'll give the
Or
people what
maybe
they
he
want.
wants you to serenade us as we go out.
Oh, that is for
Okay.
you. That is all you.
All right. Good
All
night,
right.
man.
Later. See you.